David Edward and Donnie Boivin discuss Donnie's new book, F to Focus.
Donnie, how are you?
Good, David, man. I'm stoked to hang out. Just a few seconds of hanging with you already. This is gonna be a fun conversation.
It's going to be fun. I almost feel like I have to salute you because you used to be a Marine and I used to be in the Army, but I'm not sure that's exactly how the services interact. We talked about it a little bit just a second ago, but thank you for your service, obviously.
Oh, back to you, and I'm glad you guys were beneath us, and that's totally another subject. But yeah, back at you, brother.
I swore I wouldn't have any comebacks for any of your comments. So. All right, so Donnie, you are a prolific what do they call it? Renaissance man. You have not only an interesting career, you have an interesting company and an interesting set of information for people. And on top of all of that, you do your own podcast, and you've also written 6 books, including one that just came out 6 weeks ago that I'm not allowed to say the title of, but you can.
Yeah. So the newest book is called "Fuck to Focus." I'll say it for you.
Yeah, it's F. Little star
asterisk,
CK asterisk. Yeah, I see. So I'll say F to focus. But yeah, no, the Marines, that's the famous Marine saying, right? Go and fuck yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah, which I learned a little bit of that, but being in the Army, we were never in that position, so I didn't really have to worry about that kind of stuff. But anyway, so I want to talk to you a little bit about the book and what it took to get it out. But why don't you go ahead and just set up what the idea behind this book was, and then kind of specifically who's it for, and how is it different from some of the other books that you've written?
For sure. So, I didn't know I could be an entrepreneur until I was 40 years old, right? That wasn't a thing you did. I grew up in the generation, you went and you got a job, you worked for other people. So when I turned 40, there was a lot of people in the marketplace saying, build a business, start a company, anybody can do it. And they really made it sound kind of luxurious and really, really easy.
Be your own boss.
Yeah, for sure. Be your own boss. You just choose which 90 hours a week you want to work. So when I launched my companies, there's a bunch of things that played into it, but I almost lost everything I had trying to build a business.
Oh, wow.
I almost lost our farm. My wife had to cash in her 401k. I mean, there was a lot of tough moments and tough conversations in building out a business. And all along the way, there was nobody saying, hey, Donnie, you should do this. Hey, Donnie, you should try this. Now, I'm not sure I would have listened had they try and tell me, because I kind of got a chip on my shoulder. But what I found is as I started sharing my screw ups, and I thought I was doing it from a place of, can I get advice? People started asking me questions. And I'm like, wait, I'm screwing everything up. Why are you asking me? I don't know what the hell I'm doing. And which led to, I realized everybody was struggling with where I was. And as the business went on, I knew at some point I would write this book where I could basically go back and help the people through that dark moments of building their business and give them a roadmap, but to do it in a conversational manner where it was sharing all the dark things that happened to me, so they realized they weren't alone. So that's the premise of the book. People that are probably right around the 2-year mark in business and trying to figure things out.
Okay. Oh, good. Okay. So people are right around. So the idea here, and I've been one of those people. I've had some very successful companies, and I've had some other companies that, as we would say in the Army, were less than successful.
We might say it strongly that in the Marine Corps, but
yeah, well, but so that's kind of the target audience. But so I want to get to the process you underwent to write this. But it sounds like you rolled up a lot of your own personal experiences in the book, but you did it in a way. I guess the idea being that you've lived it and you've learned it. So maybe if you can pass it on, others can kind of learn from that and then take the next step without wasting the 6 months of agony and pain.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, for sure. I hate self-help books for the most part, and it's because it's all rah and no meat on the bones. And I'm pretty straight and blunt to the point. And it's probably been one of my favorite things about the reviews so far is people are like how conversational this is. But I didn't want it to be something where, you had to do step by step all the way through to build your business. I wanted it more as a reference, and I wanted an easy read. So, I mean, it's only 83 pages. So, you can sit down and read it in 2 hours or listen to it on Audible in a couple hours. Right. And by the way, I read the book on Audible because I think I hate going to, read a book and then listen to it on Audible and somebody else reading it.
Yeah. Especially a book like this, right?
Yeah,
your
right.
voice in there. Yeah.
For sure. And so it's not necessarily a playbook, but it is a playbook for business, so it's really meant to be written that when you're struggling in a particular aspect of your business, you can come back, grab that chapter, get a refresher, and rock and roll and continue moving forward.
Well, the book's been out for about 6 weeks. How long did it take you to write it?
About 3 months, which is the longest it's taken me to write any of the books.
Okay. And then so there was, what was it that spurred you on to go ahead and decide to write this book compared to some of the other books you had of whatever you were doing without it?
This one was a pissed off move. I saw a heavy influencer that has a massive following, and he was on the same kick of anybody can be an entrepreneur, right? All you need is a computer, hustle and grind and do all this stuff. And I'd had enough. And I'm like, all right, dude, somebody's got to come out and tell the real side of building a freaking business.
Yeah.
And so I took that as kind of my mantle of, all right, let's tell people where they're really at, because you hear all the good stuff and you put yourself on an island because you don't want anybody to know how bad it is in your business. You don't want to know how bad you're screwing up. So you don't tell anybody.
That's right,
so I'm like, dude, I got to go loud enough so these people realize that this is kind of part of the process. All the screwing up and all the things that are going wrong is part of building a successful business. And that's why I'm trying to go as loud as possible.
And you live on a farm, is that right?
I do.
Yeah. So I mean, that's a business in and of itself. And the thought that hit me when you said that is, being your own boss sounds great. It's not, because you're not really your own boss. Your customers become your boss. So you wind up with hundreds or thousands of bosses. But it's being an entrepreneur is one of the few jobs where you truly get to associate what you do every day to what you get to eat at night, right?
Yes.
Especially early on. So if you like food and if you like shelter and those kind of things, if you can use those as motivation, yeah, do it. And you can work really hard and, and maybe it'll pay off. So I want to get into the process because you're a busy guy. I mean, you go up on stage, you go to companies, and you go to people, and you kind of work with them. I guess kind of like a coach, right? Is that right? A coach?
Yeah, I never put myself in a coach because usually most coaches are just broke people that can't get a job.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm just a guy that loves giving a lot of advice, and people pay me sometimes to consult, and then we have some programs and things. But at the end of the day, my goal is just to help as many people as possible get to business freedom.
Well, how did you squeeze in the time to write this thing, given everything else you had going on?
The best way I can put it said is, and I even wrote a chapter on this, is I just manage my time well. So the breakdown, just to make it really quick for your readers so they understand what I did, is I went, okay, what is the biggest things that I struggled with building my business? And those became basically my titles for each one of my chapters. And I came up with like 17 of those different things. And then I focused one at a time and wrote that chapter to that thing. Now, the hardest part was figuring out where they fit in the flow of the overall book. I struggled to move some of the chapters around.
Interesting. Yeah.
Trying to get them into the right place where it made sense at the right moment. So that was a little bit of a chore, but really having the chapters of what I wanted to write to specifically that would provide the most value allowed me to focus on a singular chapter and then later on figure out how it fit in the overall flow of the book.
Okay. But that's a very good way to do it. In a book like this, I guess, you can take an approach like that. I write a lot of fiction. Of course, in fiction, you can't really compartmentalize.
I'm jealous, dude. I wish I could write fiction. I just don't have the knack or talent.
Well, I haven't read your book. It might be fiction.
Well played.
So I'm sorry, I couldn't.
No, that's beautiful. I love it.
No, actually, based on the reviews, and I look, I don't normally, I normally eyeball the reviews, but you've got, I mean, it's been out for 6 weeks. It looks like it's really doing good to me. I mean, I have a sense for this. I mean, some of the reviews, the top review on Amazon says it's a beacon of hope, which I thought was great. I don't know if your mom wrote that maybe or something, but
it was my brother.
Your brother, okay,
no,
yeah, and this is impactful. No BS. I think people are really enjoying kind of your straightforward approach that you talk about. So
yeah. I want to add in there. I mean, the pictures that I've gotten from people of them reading the book and the notes they've written and the highlighted pages. I mean, I've never had that on any other book I've written.
That's cool.
So it's been really cool to kind of collect up. One guy bought a book for his entire mastermind group, and there's a picture of all of them holding the book up. It's things like that. I'm like, wow, where the hell did this come from? It's really cool.
That's fun. That's really rewarding, right?
Yeah,
I just get my books mailed back to me with like a knife in them or something.
Dude, this sucked. What the
this
hell
sucks.
is
What do you
it?
think? It's not worth the paper, man. That kind of stuff. So that's good. So is there anything? I mean, so are your other books kind of in this same vein? Walk me through, because you've got Endless Stream of Referrals, Joy Stacking, How to Be a Success Champion, and so on. So how is this book different than those?
So all of them kind of have their place in business. Endless Stream of Referrals, that's a 30-minute read. And it's literally, if you need a lot of referrals coming into your business, that's all it's focused on. There's really no fluff in that one. Joy Stacking is about, living life in a better terms and finding your own happiness and realizing that you can either choose misery or you can choose joy. How to Be a Success Champion, is all about how to champion yourself. And it tells a little bit of my story of how I went from corporate America to becoming a business owner, and the heartache and things I went through from there. And then your High Vibe Business is kind of along the lines of joy stacking, but it's how to keep the energy really high in your business.
Yeah. And then you have a cookbook. That's your last one. So I guess you like to eat.
Very much so. Very much so.
Awesome. So is there the latest book, Effed to Focus, is there anything different? It just came out 6 weeks ago, and like I said, it's doing really good. Is there anything about its release that has been different from the other books, or any of the feedback you've gotten that has surprised you?
You're gonna think this is funny. I didn't realize there was Amazon Canada, Amazon UK. I didn't realize all these other platforms were there, and we hit bestseller in those. And I had people from those countries, sending me messages saying, "Hey, you're a bestseller in Canada." I'm like, "Well, I'm a bestseller in Amazon. Of course I am." And they're like, "No, you don't understand. Canada has its own website." I'm like, "What?" I had no idea that there was, different things. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah, so we did that, and I think Australia was the other one we did. If I don't remember where all the ones, so that was fascinating. The other thing is this one's gotten a lot of cool attention for some bigger podcasts and bigger people that have reached out specifically because of the book, and that's never happened before because they want to interview me because of how the book was written, different from your traditional, style of books. So that's been really cool to experience.
Yeah, I think that's really refreshing in this space. I mean, you know this space better than I do, but it's not just fluff, right? I mean, it comes from, and we were joking about the military experience. I think what is like only 1% or 2% of the people, at least in this country, go through that. But it does give you kind of this no nonsense foundation to things that you can use later in life, and it provides some context, I guess. And all this, I'm just summing up all the stuff you've said, which is, do you really think it's that bad? Well, it's raining, are you getting wet? It's like, no, well, then it's not that bad, right? And stuff like that. So I think people are picking up on that. Now I know your business is advice, but let's say that there was someone who felt like they had, I don't want to call it a self-help books. I don't want to, what do you call it? I don't want to mischaracterize it.
A business growth book works.
A business growth book. So let's say that someone, they just like you, maybe they came up, they have some good foundations, they have some corporate experience. I know you said, you for a long time, you were the best salesman at making other people rich.
Right. That's true.
I wish I had found you for my business a while ago. But let's say someone wanted to write a book like this. What advice might you have for them?
First and foremost, your story doesn't matter. So most people, if you go read a lot of these books, the first half of the book is them just talking about themselves. And it's almost like this dossier of everything they've accomplished. I share my stories in the book, but they're done to teach. And it's usually something I completely screwed up, along the way. Most people write from the angle of, let me tell you how awesome I am and why you should listen to me and why you should care. Nobody cares. Go in and teach, right? And right from the perspective of when they get to the end of this book, what should they be able to do? Right. And because most people go into it and they're like, oh, I want to teach a concept without thinking about what's the overall thing they want them to accomplish. And that's why most of these style of books fail so miserably, is because it's basically a vanity book of, let me tell you how awesome I am.
Yeah, it's the classic narcissist, right? The first half is about me, and the second half is, what do you think about me?
Right. Exactly right. Exactly right.
Well, that's fantastic, Donnie. I wish you all the success in the world. I'm glad that we had the chance to talk. Are you working on another book after?
It's funny.
I can't imagine the titles, how bad they'll get.
Yeah. And before I forget, guys, if you get any value out of this thing, do David a favor and share this out with one person. It'll mean the world to him. Running my own podcast, getting your followers is a pain in the ass. So share this out with somebody. But yeah, because of the conversations in the book that I wrote out between me and my wife, a lot of people have asked me. And so one of the next books coming out is going to be, is the shit my wife said that changed my life. And I'm serious. That book's going through, because there's been a lot of times in my life she said just the right things that really impacted and helped me go to the next level. So
that's fantastic.
So that'll be the one that I'm already starting to work on.
Well, good for you. All right. So I'll make sure I put a link to your website below this. And if someone is interested in the book, they can buy it on Amazon. Can they buy it from your website?
Yep, they can go straight to the website and get it, or Amazon. And it's in Kindle, paperback, and Audible.
And if they like the book and they want to maybe use it in a group setting or bring it into their company, they can contact you because you have some special deals.
Yep, for sure.
Out for that, right?
So if anybody goes and buys 10 books, of the books, and an hour of my time would be valuable, go buy 10 books, message me, email me with that receipt. I'll give you a link to get on my calendar and give you an hour of my time to talk through whatever you want to talk through about getting either your business, your book, or your life figured out.
That's perfect. I'll make the same deal with people. If you buy 10 copies of my books, I promise not to waste an hour of your time.
Dude, I'm buying 10 books now. I'm in. I didn't want them before, but now I do.
Exactly. All right. Well, Donnie, look, it's a pleasure meeting you. My condolences on having spent the time in the Marine Corps. And we'll definitely stay in touch. Okay, sir?
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for watching. Please consider hitting the subscribe button.